Hello, heathens.
Idaho.
Idaho. Oh man, I am sleepy. The other day, I woke up from a really big, intense dream at like 3:14. And I woke up and I was like, I wonder what time it is. Of course, it's in the hour of the three. And then I stayed up for the rest of the day.
Well, that was nice.
Yep. Sure did sleep good the next night, though.
I bet you did.
I slept so good.
So sleepy.
I like feel like I'm still catching up on sleep from it.
Probably 3 o'clock is early.
Early as hell. How's your week been?
Good. Living life.
Yeah. And your moon ritual? How's that been?
It's good.
Yeah.
Well, I was focused more on the we were doing a moon ritual at Even Star Chalice and working with Mara back and forth, and this was my first one, so of course, like you're like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Mm. Yeah. Help.
I'm like, okay, I'm shy. But that went off, it went off good. So we did that. And what I made for the potluck, um, I brought there because I was like, I'm not gonna eat this all. I'm
Eating
like,
it for
no.
days.
Right.
Oh, gosh. Gotta stop yawning. What are we talking about today, Nicole?
We are talking about the Warrens.
The Warrens.
The original ghost hunters.
How did you first find out about the Warrens? I actually don't know the answer to this question. I am curious.
God, I don't I don't know, because like it's almost like at this point, like I've always known who they were. Um, but I think because I watch a lot of supernatural stuff, they would pop up in like places.
Hmm.
And back then they did a lot of like what's that? Like public TV stuff. They started out with public TV stuff like in the 80s because they started um oh, I guess they started getting really popular in the I think in the 60s and the 70s, especially after like The Exorcist came out in 74, 75, something like that. 76, 77.
73. You're so close. 73. Were they in that?
No.
I didn't think so. I haven't watched that one in a really long time.
And I don't think they had anything to do with that case anyway. Like
Mm,
that was from a story, I think.
mm,
I mean, it was based on a true story, but embellished for sure.
yeah. I think my first encounter was the movies, and then I remember talking to you about them, and then you had the book, Demonologist. I have it in here
Mm.
somewhere, what it's actually called. And then I read that, gosh, forever ago now, I feel like.
I think it was called just The Demonologist, wasn't it?
Here it is. The Demonologist, The Extraordinary Career of Ed and Lorraine Warren.
Oh, okay.
It's an interesting book.
It was very good. A lot of the stuff that they talk about though is very uh dramatic. Like I don't think a lot of people experience that type of hauntings that are so big.
Like intense.
Yeah, yeah, the intensity of it. Now granted, they've done over 10,000 cases in their career time, and what we see on cinematic like TV and what they talk about in each one of their cases, those are the ones that are the most notable. So a lot of times we need to keep in perspective of like horror movies and ghost movies and ghost stories. Like they're um been exaggerated, and this is like a very special um ingredients of like this had to happen a lot, like a perfect storm kind of scenario.
Yeah.
Like it needed this ingredient and this ingredient and this ingredient for it to be a tornado.
Yeah, and like you have to like one of the stories that I wanted to talk about too, because it's like so almost funny of like a good example of this is like Annabelle.
Mm-hmm.
Like, man, come on, like they had to make it more cinematic. Like, who would watch a horror movie? I mean, honestly, the horror movie would have been probably a 20-minute horror movie, and it wouldn't have been as fascinating or as like scary or like fun to watch because it would it kind of been boring, you know?
Mm-hmm. Well, especially what we're normally seeing, everything is so um it's so dramatic. So like when we see something that's just like, oh, there was a couple taps on the wall and you were scared and that was it, we're like, oh, well, that's nothing. But like anybody's been in a home or a basement or like out in the woods and experienced something like knocking, it takes a whole new meaning,
Yep.
especially if you're by yourself. Even if you've got one other person with you, it's terrifying.
Especially at night.
Yeah.
The darkness, it's like, please be a cat. Please be a cat. It's a
Is
cat,
it
right?
it's a cat. It's a cat. It's always a cat.
Please be a cat.
Oh, kitty, kitty.
We have a special guest today. Her name is Zakora,
Her name is Sakura.
and she's a beautiful cat. Yes. Oh,
Look at that boo boo.
that baby.
She mad. She mad about it.
Yeah.
She was
She's like,
like,
I
"How
was comfortable.
dare you move me?"
Yep. Put me back.
This podcast is brought to you by Zakora.
Yes. I support this message. My name is Cascapuja, and I support this message.
I support this message.
Um, okay, Nicole, give us Ed and Lorraine's history. Give us like what you got on like them as a couple, them as I guess individuals too. Hey, it's one, two, three, four.
Oh, very nice.
We are in the right direction.
We are building. So, no, my purpose of this video is to shed light to our viewers on kind of where this ghost phenomenon and hunting and helping people in houses where they don't feel safe. These guys were really the pioneers of this. They put themselves out there. They had ridicule. They didn't care about like um they never asked for money.
Yeah.
Like they just wanted to prove really what his main thing was is he wanted to prove to people that ghosts and demons are real. And that's really what his like driving force was. Ed's driving force was. So, um, oh, excuse me.
She said, all right, I'm out. I
She
got my
left.
shout out. I'm done.
Right. She's like, I'm done. So Ed was born in September 7th in 1926. Lorraine was born January 31st, 1927. They both were in Connecticut, Bridgeport, Connecticut. Um, they hold please. I have another. Okay, here we go. Um, so Ed really was the driving force with the paranormal because he had experienced it when he was about 5. The first apparition that he saw was actually his landlady that had died the year before, and she was there in his room, and and then after that, he would actually talk to some of his family members and they would predict his future. Like his aunt said that he would never become a priest, but he would help people or he would work closely with them instead.
Yeah.
And then Lorraine, who is psychic, she's a light trance psychic medium. So, what that kind of means is the fact that she can go into a state of being, but still be aware of her surrounding and what's happening around her. Because a deep trance medium would sometimes not know what they said or what they did. They would completely almost like step out of the way and let the spirit come in and use them to speak through, like a voice box of some sort. When she was a young child, she grew up. They both are very religious, Roman Catholic, and she went to a private school. And one of the first times, her abilities, she just thought everybody could do that because nobody really talks about it, but she never, she just thought everybody was like that. So one of the things that she knew that she was a little different was that they were planting a tree on Arbor Day, and it was just a little itty bitty like sapling that they had planted, and then she could see it, like the tree, like full grown, blowing in the wind. And at that point, one of the sisters or the nuns asked her what she was looking at in the sky, and what she said was that she could see the tree. And then the nun asked her if she could see the future, and she's like, "Well, I guess I am." And this was when she was like 12, which I do feel like, um, or sometimes like that's when psychic abilities can come forward too, like around 12. She probably received her communion at that point too,
Oh, yeah. I didn't think about that.
because I'm not sure. I think it's around 12 or 13. And then because they live so close together, they would see each other around town. And then Ed started working. They were both 16. Was working as an usher at a movie theater, and Lorraine and her mother would frequent that movie theater. And then they began dating soon after that. But then Ed had to go off to the war, World War II, and he was in the Navy. Um, so he went off to the war. I don't know if I have dates on that.
Um,
I don't think I
on his
do.
17th birthday, in 1943, Ed enlisted in the Navy.
43. Okay.
And he served aboard a merchant marine vessel. Um, yeah, it doesn't say because it says that he and Lorraine married on May 22nd of 1945. So what is that, 2 years later?
Mm-hmm.
And then they were
Because they were
both
both,
18.
oh, I
Oh, go
had
ahead.
19.
Oh, okay, see.
Either way, whatever.
And then all I have is like after the war. So I'm not really sure when.
Wait, there's something really cool though when he was at the war. Did you get that?
Mm-mm.
So, um, and I guess I don't have the full, it was in a documentary that I was watching. So basically, he went out to, it was in the North Atlantic Sea that his ship went down. And I'm not quite sure if it was like, were they, I'm not sure if they were actively in war, but I'm guessing because it was North Atlantic, I would think that they probably had a malfunction and it went down that way. Like a fire or something. There was definitely fire involved. Because he recounts in that story that they went into the water and he was helping one of his fellow like um soldiers. What do they call them? Like a
Uh,
That's not right.
it's not a seal, it's a marine. No, I don't know.
No, no, the Marines are their own people.
That's what I thought.
Uh Anyway, his colleague, his shipmate, something. I can't find the right word for it, but he was helping, like he brought him up from drowning and he was trying to take him somewhere, but then he turned around and there was nothing but a wall of fire. And he started saying the Mother Mary prayer. And he's like, everything, like the fire split open. And then as he was swimming through the fire, he actually saw the Coast Guard coming to pick him up and them
Wow.
up, and they pulled him out of the water. So it was very, very spiritual moment for him.
Hell yeah.
And then that is when he went on his survivor leave and he married Lorraine immediately during
Yeah,
that
and then
leave.
he never went back to the Navy.
No, I think he went back for a little bit. Um, no, he returned to war.
Oh,
They
did
got
he?
married and then he returned to war. Yeah.
Hmm.
Um, I forget why he quit the war, or maybe the war ended. I don't know. So sorry.
So sorry.
So sorry. I don't mean any disrespect on people that have been into war because I know that is so horrible. But I also do not know the dates on or why he left.
Yeah, I don't really know either. Because it says that their only child, Judy, was 6 months old before Ed left the Navy.
Hmm.
So maybe it wasn't that long after he came back.
Yeah, because
Well,
when she was born, he was in Japan at that time because he had mentioned in one of his interviews that he was standing in a particular place in Japan when he received a call that his daughter was born.
oh,
Hmm. But then after that, so when he came back from the war, he was supporting the family with doing paintings of scenery of New England and houses and sold them to tourists for $3 and $5. And if you could sell at the back at that time, if you could sell three or four paintings, that was a pretty good haul um, to do so. I
heck
thought that was
yeah.
so cool because it seems so odd that he was a painter. Not that it should be odd or anything like that. It's just one of those things where like he's a painter. Like,
Yeah.
okay.
It's like, for me, when I hear that, I think about Bob Ross.
Yeah,
'Cause I'm
yeah.
like, wow, I wonder if I could have been like Bob Ross, just out here painting landscapes and like teaching people and you know what I mean?
Mhm. Mhm.
That whole other route.
I got a new way to go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know if it's just very interesting. But that's how they ended up being in the paranormal too, is he would paint these houses that he felt were haunted. And
Hmm.
then Lorraine would go up to the house and offer him this painting. And, she would be like, well, my husband likes to draw haunted houses. And we, saw that yours was. And then they would invite them in and they would talk about the hauntings and blah, blah, blah. And that's how it kind of started, which I think is super cool.
I think so too. And plus, like, what an interesting way to like, because most of the time, like what happens modern days now, right, is like somebody tells you that they think their house is haunted, then they ask you to come out and they ask you to come look at it. And that was an interesting way of getting their foot in the door of like, hey, heard your house is haunted. Paint this picture of your
Yeah.
house.
Yeah.
Love to gift it to you. Do you want us to come and check your house out?
Right, right. Just to open that conversation about something that either you don't think you believe in or you think you're crazy because you've seen stuff, or because it's such a hauntings are such isolated things. Like it really isolates the whole family individually. Even though
Yeah.
they all live in the same house and under the same roof, and everybody's having experiences, but you don't necessarily openly share those experiences with your people because of these things that you're afraid of being like judged or made fun of even.
Yeah, they were the people you go to when you felt like you were the crazy one. They were
Mhm.
the ones that would be like, we believe you.
Yeah,
We will come
yeah.
check it out for you.
Mhm. Especially in the time of then, like, I don't necessarily think that a lot of people were I feel like they were getting out of that kind of stuff where because science was growing in popularity and because hauntings you can't necessarily like put on our microscope or put it into a bottle and like examine it and run tests on it. It's just one of those things that always eludes science, and it's hard for people to believe in something on their own accord if they don't have facts on it.
Yeah, or like personal experiences backing the belief there too.
Mhm. Because really every day, especially in the unseen, you are the one that has to run your own experiments. You can't necessarily like obviously trusted people that I can talk to about weird experiences or, you know, um there's some of a that's kind of good if you have these little anchors that helps you kind of walk through the fog a little bit, a little more you feel more secure that way. But like if you don't have those anchors, you get kind of lost and you because we've seen people get a little bit like lost in their head
Yeah,
dealing with the unseen and paranormal and the cult and stuff like that.
yeah, 100%. Can be a lot. It can be like what like information overload or almost like overstimulating when it's like happening.
Well, that's the thing is like because there's no container for it. So it could be anything. And you could be seeing stuff that you can't explain.
Hmm.
And if I do explain it, you don't understand it because it's unexplainable or uh and I think that's what makes us all feel crazy is because like I saw some shit, but I have no idea how to tell you about it.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like, oh, well, I felt scared and I felt this and I felt that. And like logic takes over and they're like, well, why?
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
And then you're just being a baby. And then here we are. Right. Like,
Yes.
so you can dismiss it really easily, especially if you haven't had the experience. It's very easy for you to dismiss, like,
Well, and sometimes like that logic wants to take it over because fear is kicking in, so you have to explain away the fear.
absolutely. Absolutely. Fear is the mind killer.
Like, yeah, man, like you got to make it make sense because otherwise it's scary.
I can't compute.
Cannot compute.
So the next thing is like Lorraine, despite her clairvoyancy, she did not believe in ghosts until later in life. After her and Ed began visiting houses and painting haunted houses, in the beginning, she was a bit more weary of people who spoke of this. Um, she thought it was a suffering from an overactive imagination, where just thinking, making things up to get attention. And then, of course, once you into this a little bit deeper, you realize that yes, some people do have overactive imaginations, but also they don't.
Yes.
And that's where discernment comes in. Like the more you do it, the more you investigate it, the more you know of somebody trying to get attention to people um that are the real deal.
You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of like serial killers and then people that wanted to have that famous why they did, I don't know, but people that would try to claim that, oh, I did it. I'm this person. And it's like, okay, then
Mhm.
tell me about the facts. And then they're like, well, I know about this, but it's all stuff they read in the news and they don't know the intimate facts that police or whoever is investigating have like released. It kind of reminds me of that, where it's like, well, I want to be famous.
Right, right. And it's interesting because I just had the thought of like, what if they were doing it because they didn't want the real killer caught?
True.
I never even thought about that. I'm like, what? Why?
Right.
Why?
Makes no sense.
Oh, okay. So after that, in 1952, the Warrens had founded the Society of New England Society for Psychic Research. This is to document the case. They also created the occult museum that they had in their space in the Monroe, Connecticut home.
Yeah, it was in your basement.
Mm-hmm.
Which also I was thinking about that too, from a like a house cleansing standpoint. And I'm like, how interesting that it was in their basement. Your subconscious. I
Oh, isn't that interesting?
I haven't gone really further than that yet because I'm trying to stay focused here, but I had that thought earlier where I was like,
Yeah.
huh.
Was it in their basement? Because every show that I've seen has always been like above ground.
Yeah, it was in their basement.
Oh, that's interesting.
Is that wild?
That is wild.
Let's see, because
Talk about
I
a haunted basement.
talk about how in a friggin' basement. Like, holy crap. Let's see. Has it moved now though? I'm not really sure.
It probably has because Ed died in 2006 and Lorraine died in 2019. And I do believe her or their son-in-law and daughter now have it because he runs his own paranormal um thing.
Yeah, and he also didn't he take over the any NESPR?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I don't have that information in front of me, but I believe so because I know that he just came out with, not just came out, but I had watched a paranormal investigation series on Netflix called 28 Days. 28 Days. So in this experiment, they took paranormal investigators and they didn't tell them where they were going, and they did like maybe four locations, and these locations were proven to be haunted. And their theory is that it took 28 days for a full manifestation of a haunted house. And I do believe that they get this, at least the similarities that I have connected was in the Amityville Horror House when the Lutz family came in, it was 28 days and
Hmm.
they left everything. There was no moving out. They literally left all of their belongings completely. In fact, when they went back to do the seance in the house later, when you walked, the journalist that had went with them uh, was saying that it literally looked like they had just went out for errands and they would be back anytime.
Wow.
You know, like there were dishes in the dish, the sink. There was, you know, it looked like a lived-in house. You know, they had their chairs there, their couches, their rugs, their knickknacks, their all of it. They had set up all of it, and they had literally just picked up and left.
Imagine going through something so intense that you're like, I literally do not care about any of my earthly possessions more than I care about my family. We need to leave it all and get the fuck out of here.
Absolutely. I mean, I can't even imagine that experience of like even just like the day to day, like that 28 days must have been the longest part of their life.
Yeah,
Like a
absolutely.
whole lifetime in 28 days.
Yep, I agree. No, thank you.
So of course, as soon as the Warrens started to grow bigger in like they take on cases and a little more notoriety because they were always doing lectures at universities or on public television. Um, the skeptics grew, of course, as too.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
to quiet the critics, Lorraine agreed to be tested by Dr. Is it Thelma?
Thelma Moss.
Yes. An actress turned psychologist and parapsychologist. And she studied Lorraine at the UCLA lab. Um, and then she found that Lorraine was above average.
I mean, for me being in the metaphysical world, that's fucking cool that she was able to get studied and found that she was above average for being clairvoyant. And I would love to know like what was studied or how it was, you know what I mean? Just to like, because I'm just out of
Yeah,
curiosity.
just the tests that were given and I wonder, I mean, of course they probably recorded it. I wonder if we could actually like look up
I bet if
the
I did some digging, I could find it.
right? I'm sure it's somewhere.
It's got to be somewhere.
Hmm.
Because that would be so interesting to see like what they were studying and how. Especially because like what that was back in the 70s, right? So
Yeah. Uh Late 60s, early 70s.
yeah, or like late 60s even. Yeah, it's like I'm so curious because I know that during that too, she was using like I'm gonna say this wrong, Curlian, I think is how you say it, photography,
Oh
which
yeah.
basically shows your aura. It like uses it's what aura pictures are, what they kind of look like now. And it uses like, your hand on whatever the thing, and then you could see the aura around your hand. And I'm
Hmm.
wondering if that was like how she used it, or if there was more to it, That's like how she did the study, is what I mean.
Yeah, because you don't really, it doesn't really, I mean, I guess you could probably look in it a little bit deeper and see if there is any other information out on that.
Yeah. So interesting.
Yes. Yes. So I guess let's go into the films and stuff. Unless you have something else to add to their life.
I the only thing I will add to that is I did read on the NESR SPR that they actually would investigate the cases you like with doctors and nurses, researchers, and other police that were at their assistance. And I
Mm-hmm.
thought that was really freaking cool because I was like, wow, like I didn't know that there was so many more than just like psychics or priests or because there's even priests on their websites that they work with. There's like
Mm-hmm.
because I have their website up because I was so curious about this because I did not know about the NESPR. And there is a priest on here. His name is Archbishop Plato
The
Angelicus.
Archbishop too? Wow.
Uh-huh. Yeah, it says, he's an ordained, obviously, Orthodox Catholic priest,
Mm-hmm.
with the Oblates of St. Therese in Wisconsin in 1999. Um, it's like the old Roman Catholic rite is what he went through, and he's been let's see. He's an active member of the American Association of Exorcists since 2013 and holds a certificate as registered exorcist deliverance minister, advanced practice. So he's like freaking up there,
Ooh.
man. And so he's even on their website. He works with them. And I thought that was so cool to see like different people that they're working with. I did not know that.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. The only other really thing I have is like I had read somewhere that like Lorraine also said she could see auras around people ever since she was like 7 or 8. I
Mm-hmm.
thought that was really cool too, because like I feel like that's been out a lot. Um, let's see. Do I have anything else on that? No, have more just like now just beliefs in things that she would do when they would go to like their cleansings and stuff or their
Mm-hmm.
investigations. Like um one of her favorite techniques, investigative techniques that I read was that she would lay on her back on the beds in their houses, which she claimed would allow her to detect and absorb the psychic energy in a home,
Mm-hmm.
which I really love that because I learned this from you and now strongly have a big belief because it makes so much sense that our beds hold so much energy, so much
Mm-hmm.
energy. It's the one thing you're in every night. And especially like when you're sleeping, you're processing everything, it's all sinking in. And
Mm-hmm.
how often, really quick for the people, do you say to get rid of your bed, get a new bed every?
Well, you know, the guy I was doing house cleansings with a while back, he stated that like every 5 years.
Mm, okay.
I don't necessarily believe that because like if I spend $3,000 on my mattress, the last thing I want to do is get a new bed in. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I would say that cleansing it, and you can do this in multiple ways, that would help with like relieving the energy. I also put a lot of selenite around my bed and in my like if you've got two like the box spring and the top mattress, you can put it in there. You could even like do a small slit and like shove a bunch of crystals in there. That would help. Something that doesn't need to be cleansed, that's self-cleansing, because you don't want to put something in there that's gonna like fill up and not cleanse out. And
Yeah.
then program your stones when you do this, and this will help. Also, getting that grounding blanket or those grounding sheets that they're becoming popular, where you can actually like, there's a wire that goes from the sheet to outlet or something like that. I would suggest if you're feeling like you're not getting a good enough sleep, if you feel like you've been through some shit and it's like still like plaguing you as you're sleeping, this would be a great way to kind of um do that.
Yeah. That's so smart. I forgot about the grounding sheets.
I've also put salt all over my bed and let that sit for a good 8 hours, 6 to 8 hours, and then vacuumed it up.
I have done that as well.
Um, I'm sure you could pray over it or cleanse it or bring white light into it. Like, uh and that would help. Just being mindful and attentive of like what you're doing and what your intentions are, um, would be fine too. Or you could call us and we'd come over, like
Yeah.
whatever you want to do.
We'll come cleanse your bed.
Yeah, yeah, it's fine.
The only other thing I had about like kind of their life is just like what they would do because I thought this was really interesting because I think it's cool to see like how they would go into an investigation when like it was similar. It's kind of similar to how we have done house cleansings together, and I thought it was really cool because like when they would go as quickly as they could, and then they would split up. Ed would be doing like interviews with all the people involved, which is an important part. We've talked about it when we were talking about house cleansings before. Is it's an important part to of the whole practice. And then
Hmm.
Lorraine would be walking around the house and seeing if she could get any like spirit activity through her psychic senses, seeing if she sees anything, feels anything, hears anything. And then when she would detect this presence, she would almost be able to know immediately if the spirit was either an earthbound human, an apparition, or an inhuman influence. And
Hmm.
I love knowing that about them because like yeah, we've seen that in the movies, but also knowing that that was actually how they would do that, it feels good because I'm like, wow, okay, that's like, I wonder if that influenced like a lot of house cleansings now of why we do the
Hmm.
things that we do when you go.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, they, like I said, they were pioneers they were road openers or door openers for this whole field. Without them, we wouldn't have what we have today.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hmm.
And then the only one other thing, I'm sorry, I just saw it that I didn't have it highlighted, is I found this interesting, which I do agree with some of this, but I saw that Lorraine would say that you know, any use of like Ouija boards, tarot cards, psychic materials like that would be an entry point for some kind of being. She never really like said demonic, so don't think
Hmm.
that. But I was like, how interesting, because I've never thought about, I guess pre being in the metaphysical world, I would have been scared of tarot cards even, but I feel like tarot cards like what are your thoughts about that? Like them being an entry point for I would think it'd have to be intention behind it.
Well, that's because that's the thing is we know a lot of people that have, tarot cards and stuff like that and crystals, and they don't, not all of them have hauntings or, they're not plagued by stuff. I think like the whole thing is even when we watched Talk to Me, like I
Mm,
believe it's a certain, like, the girl was going through losing her mother, distancing herself from her father. Like she was going through these things already. She was already in a dark place. And I think that's when it opens you up, and that's when like because it's more because that kind of behavior attracts it. Energy attracts energy. So if you go in with, I mean, I don't want to say like bad intention, but like lower thought attentions, lower energy stuff, then that's what you're going to attract.
yeah.
Um, because like, and again, in movies, like especially like The Exorcist, we see Reagan is very light and bubbly, and she just finds a Ouija board in the attic and starts playing with it, and that's how it gained entry. And I don't necessarily believe that like that's how it happened. I would
Mm,
have to see like what emotions they were going through at the time.
yeah, or if there was any big life events and things that happen. Yeah.
Absolutely. I
Yeah.
mean, even just puberty is a big event. So you know what I mean? Like, but there had to have been something that was like, depression or sadness or some sort of like thing that was lower energy.
Yeah, agreed. That's
Hmm.
good thought. Good good thought process there, buddy.
Yeah, because I just don't think. I mean, we would have so many more cases of like demons and like poltergeist activity if that were the case.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, think about how many like, and I will say a lot of the paranormal like investigations that I have like researched, um, not every house, more than not every house has any of that stuff in it. They're just normal people. Like, it's not like they're conjuring up. It's not like my house where I've got plastered over every wall. It's like they're just normal people living in a house. Like,
Yeah,
it's not, it doesn't have anything to do with witchcraft or anything like that. I think it can happen, but I just don't think it's that prevalent. Because
I would agree.
I think it was one of their cases, the Connecticut case. She was saying that um she was told that you walk around in a room with no doors and no windows, and then something happens that creates a door, and you can close this door, but like you have to be very, very, very careful because this door can be opened at any time.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's like a scab, like you can't pick the scab.
Mm-mm.
And I think that's kind of how it can work as well. But it's so multi-layered, so it's so hard to like pinpoint like A, B, and C will get you, like
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. It's like, there's this sickness your cats can get, but it's like literally like frog has to, or like a snake has to eat a frog, and the bird has to eat the snake, and then this has to eat this, and then your cat can get it. It has to live
mhm.
through this whole life cycle through all these animals to get to your cat.
Yeah, and to have that happen is so rare. Like for the star for everything to line up just perfectly for your cat to get it. Like it's just so, I mean, it happens,
It happens,
right?
but it's
But
not
it's
like
not
you're gonna turn around and you're gonna see somebody and you're gonna be like, "Oh, that happened to you," and then you're gonna turn this way and you're gonna be like, "Oh, that happened to you too."
right, right. Unless you're at a meeting and then maybe.
Yeah, and then well, yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay, so cases is where we're moving into next.
Oh, wait.
Oh,
Didn't we talk a little bit how Ed got into demonology, or did we not find any? I forget.
yeah, so before the podcast, I was saying I really am so curious how Ed like became like a self-taught, demonologist. Because he is actually recognized, he was recognized by the Catholic Church. I did read that they never really did exorcisms themselves because they had, like I told you guys, they had this big group of people around them. They literally worked with an archbishop who is like a master exorcist. He's
Mm-hmm.
like the PhD. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but I couldn't find anything so far. I feel like if I dig some big deep, uh-huh, digging,
Mm-hmm.
some big deep
Mm-hmm.
digging, big deep digging,
I'm gonna be big deep digging.
maybe I could find some theories, but I don't know if Ed actually put anything out about how he actually, learned to be a demonologist. Because in my head, I'm like, did you have a guide telling you what, or did you read books, or like, did what, how? I'm curious. How'd you get there, bud?
Well, if he did work closely with priests, I'm guessing that most of his stuff was from there, but
Right.
also he had to get it from other places as well.
Yeah.
But of course, I don't know what they teach in exorcist school, so
Nope.
they have not come and got me to teach me things yet.
Boo.
Boo hiss.
Lame. Pick her
Boo
up.
hiss.
Pick her up.
Boo hiss.
Boo hiss. How dare.
I did not get my Hogwarts letter from them yet.
Okay, fair. That was a good statement.
There's still hope, though. There's still hope.
Yeah, seriously.
Mhm. So do you want to go into cases next then?
Yeah, sure.
All right, so the first one that I have was in 1970. Well, big cases, I should say.
Yes, because 10,000, man, come on.
Right, we're not going through all of those. We don't have time, and I don't have the breath.
I don't have the energy.
No, no,
No,
no, ma'am.
no, 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 no.
No, no, no. Uh, we're going to talk about Annabelle. In 1972, roommates claimed that their ragdoll Annie, their Raggedy Ann, doll was possessed by the spirit of a young girl named Annabelle Higgins. The Warrens took the doll, telling the roommates it was being manipulated by an inhuman presence, and put it on display in the Family of the Cult Museum. The legend of the doll inspired several films in the Conjuring universe. What is a motif?
Motif?
Motif. Oh.
Motif is like a design or a pattern. It's like decorative.
Oh, yes. Blah, blah, blah. Oh, here we go. Um, yeah, the story of Annabelle was very interesting to me, and I was actually upset that they didn't, I don't feel like they did it justice in the movie
No.
compared to the story.
Yeah.
And I am definitely upset about the doll because the doll looks,
Freaking Raggedy Ann doll.
in my
Granted,
opinion, right. I don't need it to look like Chucky. Okay.
no.
Like we didn't need that. And
We don't need that porcelain one that's new. Fuck
no.
that one. That one's terrifying.
And I think the Raggedy Ann is more terrifying than the one that they painted up all scary because um something so innocent and it looks so non-threatening to be threatening. That's why children are scary.
Yeah, I'm gonna be real honest. We've talked about my fear of dolls. I don't want a doll. Cute or not cute. No, thank you.
I don't want it. Well,
I don't want that to.
um there was a legend or theory or whatever that they made dolls to possess to had to be hollow so that like ghosts would have homes in them. Like it was a ghost home.
Like a golem,
Yeah.
kinda. Mm,
Mm-hmm.
mm. No, thank you.
Hmm. No, thank
Um,
you.
so what I got on this was that that doll was given to that nurse as a gift. And when she took it home, what started happening is that I've read that she and her roommate started finding parchment paper with written messages, like with things like that would say, help me, help us. And that's when they started like reaching out to Ed and Lorraine because they had heard about them. And
Mm-hmm.
the doll would start like showing up in different rooms and
Mm-hmm.
leaking blood. I don't know if that's, you know, true, but that's what I read. So I was like, interesting. Apparently the two women had turned to a medium first who said that the doll was being occupied by the spirit of a young girl named Annabelle Higgins. And
Mm-hmm.
then after Ed and Lorraine had examined the doll, they came to the immediate conclusion that the doll itself was not in fact possessed, but being manipulated by an inhuman presence. Um, and so I read that when they took the doll, on the way home, their brakes kept failing. And so they pulled over and doused the doll in holy water, And after that, they said that their car troubles stopped. Well, then Ed and Lorraine said the doll would move around in their house. So that's when
Mm-hmm.
they locked it in that glass case and sealed it with a binding prayer. And Tony Sphere, the son-in-law, has
Yeah.
actually been quoted saying um, that out of all the things in the museum, quote unquote, that doll is what I'd be most frightened of.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, yeah, dude. So I also read that there was this couple that visited the museum one time that they were skeptics and they got in a motorcycle accident soon after visiting the museum and they were saying that they were laughing about Annabelle just before the crash.
Oh, wow. There's a couple stories about that because there was, I think, a priest or something that like threw it and then also got into a head-on collision and almost died.
Fuck around and find out.
Well, if you're skeptic, this is the great way to like make you not skeptic, right?
That's
Like
yep. That's like totally off the wall topic, but um I don't ever want to really go to like Zach Bagans like museum just because like I believe in this stuff, you know. I believe in like that he has actually found stuff. Like is probably everything, maybe not, who knows? I don't know, but I don't want to fuck around and find out because I believe in it.
he has a new show called About the Museum. It's funny
Ooh.
that you bring it up. And he's teamed up with Eli Roth, which is
Mm.
a director of horror
Yeah,
movies. And it's actually pretty good. But we started watching it because we watch paranormal investigations before we go to bed because we're
yeah.
normal people. And we were watching this and I was like, it's like a whole fucking movie. And I was like, this is actually really scary before I go to bed. It's not like, like the first object was a bed that was in a whorehouse, like a modern day whorehouse. And
Oh,
um they apparently somebody had became obsessed with one of the girls and that ended up killing her like on the bed, like strangling
oh,
and killing her on the bed. So then and of course it's in room 13 and it's all lines up perfectly for making a good horror film.
hell yeah, it does.
And so this girl, she looks like they make a story about this girl, she needed some money, so she went to this like whorehouse and like, you know, got needed some money for something, right? And she was put in that room and basically the show was like what her encounters were with this like spirit or entity and stuff.
Interesting.
Yeah, it was really interesting. So it's good if you want something a little scary, like it's not badly done.
We actually have it on our watch list because we had just saw
Hmm.
that there was a new one, and who doesn't love
Hmm.
Zach Baggins?
I'm
He
not a
plays a
big,
character really well.
first of all, I hate his hair. Well, we started watching it from the beginning, like one of his ghost adventures from the beginning. So I know he's got 27 seasons, right?
Yeah.
And my personal opinion at this point is that like he's got his purpose. I'm not denying that he doesn't have a purpose. What I don't like is that he's very broy about it. And his hair kills me. Like I just
Yeah, it's like he plays a character very well for like cinematic purposes almost.
I can't get past his hair.
Yeah, I
I
get it.
mean, like this is years ago, right? Because he's older now and has better haircut, I think. I also don't necessarily like their investigation style, and this is just in the beginning because we're watching. So I don't know what year this is that we're watching because he's clearly younger in it, and like the evidence, they don't have any like evidence like in the back, and their EVPs suck. Like
Yeah.
he's like, "Oh, I can hear this," and you're like,
It's like the one that we watched, Demon House. Oh, that was a very frustrating one to watch.
Yeah, it's just frustrating. Like I just wish it was better. That's all. Like
Yep.
I don't hate him and I think he gets you know, uh he gets stuff. So I'm not like a true like hater just because I get in the world that you need certain people to do certain things, and we still are watching him, but it's just frustrating. There's these little things that are just so frustrating.
Agreed.
There was one he was in a saloon den, Tombstone, which was a great like find because I thought that was like I love Tombstone in that kind of era. And he, ladies of the night and all that stuff because it was a saloon. And they were always talking about like, oh, would they like us because we're guys? And we're like, and I'm like,
Okay, same though. You're like, God, move on.
I can't. So just certain stuff like that. But that's my own criticism. So whatever. Like it's fine.
I mean, yeah, dude. Personal
He's
opinion.
got
It's cool.
you can't deny the proof of the pudding because like the fruit like he's got 27 seasons of Ghost Adventures and then he's got offshoots of that. He's even gotten to the point where he doesn't go out to investigations anymore. He sends his minions out there to
Yeah.
do it, right? And then they talk back and forth and all that kind of stuff. And that which is fine, but like that's the thing is he's got so many stuff. So you can't deny he's not good because
I mean, I honestly like that's what I'm saying too about like you can't deny that like some of that shit in that place is going to be absolutely haunted. I mean, honestly, if you jump on TikTok and you watch some people after they get in there, there's this one girl that's going a little bit viral right now that just went with a group of friends and she has this extreme heavy sadness that followed her out of there and she's fucked up from it. People are giving
well,
her good advice, like, hey, find a shaman. Hey, go do a like Reiki, all this
mm-hmm.
stuff where I'm like, okay, like go TikTok. We're giving her some good advice of people to seek out to like feel better. But I'm like, man, like you just can't deny that. You just that there's gonna be something.
Well, plus she's got extreme sadness in her too that needs to be seen. She needs to actually deal with her own sadness. That's.
Hmm.
But
It's
we don't
also
want
why I
to.
liked I liked the I saw I really I was like, ooh, heart for the Reiki one because I was like, dude, Reiki could probably be so helpful. Help her
Mm-hmm.
move it so she can process what's
Mm-hmm.
going on.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, little side turn there for a minute.
Well, yeah, they even in there, they even talk about how ghosts follow them home. And um, when we were watching Hellier, they even were talking about because they had went to the Overlook Hotel
Mm,
and researched that building. And there's a ghost there that they had talked to that will show up in different investigations just to say, like, hey,
yeah. I
like they have a fan.
want to go to the Overlook Hotel so bad.
I know. It's so, ah, that would be amazing.
Ah, that'd be so cool.
Okay, so the second one was 1971. This is the Perrin family. This is the big conjuring house. Like,
One of my favorite
so
movies.
we had a family of seven move in. They had five daughters. And they said that as soon as they showed up to the house, they moved into the house, like they were bringing boxes in, they experienced paranormal activity. And it was and this is where they talked about each family member had its own experiences, but they weren't talking to each other because they thought they were scared for their family. They were scared for they thought they would be deemed as crazy or whatever. So they never
Yeah.
really talked to each other and like found out these kind of things. What I saw was is that they contacted the Warrens, but this didn't really end well. So they went in, they did a seance to kind of contact to the entity that was in the house, and it ended with the mom was under demonic attack, and the husband wanted to go over and assist his wife. And Ed was like, no, don't touch her. She's under demonic attack. And
Mhm.
he basically ends up punching Ed and demanding that they leave.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure with all of that happening did not suit that house at all. Like I'm sure things probably just amped up after that, for
Oh,
sure.
yeah. I would agree
Mhm.
100%.
Yeah, so according to the Warrens, Bathsheba Sherman cursed the land so whoever lived there somehow died a terrible death. And that was the story that is a subject in the film in 2013, The Conjuring.
Ah, that was such a good movie.
It was interesting because if you watch Kindred Spirits, they're really kind when they do their investigations, and they're really trying to find out who they can help and how they can help and get voices heard. And I really like their approach to it, and the evidence they find is really, really clean. Um, so, but they was really cool. So they basically that house had changed ownership, and a paranormal husband wife team actually bought it for their family.
Oh, wow.
And of course, they immediately started getting activity and all that kind of stuff. And then I think their oldest son had an experience and now wouldn't live there.
Mm.
And then um I think a couple of their kids like basically had also witnessed activity, and so they called in the kindred spirit to kind of help them, and they conducted an investigation, but they also had a great idea about bringing the parent family back into the house after all these years to kind of see what would happen to the house. And I'm not sure what they found, like what happened after the family had left, if like some of the paranormal activity went down, if it didn't change it at all, or if it amped it up or anything. Um, I guess we could look up that information and see, but I thought it was a cool little experiment to have them all in the house. And it was almost, I think, the way I felt about it was very therapeutic for the family
Yeah.
to kind of like full circle it, because they all were sitting around a table and they were all like, the kids were almost kids again. And these ladies are like probably in their 60s and 50s, 60s. And they were re-encountering this like these experiences like they had just happened yesterday, about like what happened in the basement and what happened to this one and what happened to this sister, and that kind of thing. And it was emotional and very, I think, therapeutic for all of them as they were doing it, kind of like tied up loose ends and like ended a cycle, I think, which was really nice.
Yeah, because I feel like that's how any trauma thing happens, right? Once you start working through it, if you can get that little bit of closure where you like they're all talking about it, but they're not actively experiencing it anymore when they're talking about it, that's like really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Cry it
Plus,
out, close the book.
right, it gives you so you're not a kid anymore and you're not helpless to things
Hmm.
so much, like, so being an adult, having a logic mind, seeing things like from a different angle, I think really helps too when you go back into it, because you're an adult, you've lived this, you have experience now instead of not having the experiences.
Right. And is
Hmm.
this the one where the mom won't go in?
Yeah, yeah, the mom did not go back, and I don't blame
I don't,
her.
I don't blame her either. There's no way in
Mm.
hell. I'd be like, honestly, get fucking wrecked, guy. I ain't going back there. No.
Yeah, because like I would not it, I'm sure possession like that has to be horrible.
Hmm.
And then even doing things or having people tell you that you did things that you were unaware of, that's gotta be just undescribable.
Yeah. Especially like when you have kids and they're
Right.
telling you things you've done.
Right, right, right.
Mm-mm.
So the next one after that, 1975, was the Amity Horror House.
Amityville.
So in this one, if we're not familiar with um what had happened was
What had happened was,
what had happened was um so there was a brutal murder, and the year before the Lux had uh bought the house. And I was trying to think, I'm not sure the names. It was like I'm not sure the names of the people that had died in the house. I want to say it was the Donofrios, but that's not right. It starts with a D though.
DeFeo.
The
DeFeo.
DeFeos, yeah.
Yeah.
So the DeFeos entered the house and were living there. And apparently the oldest son, they had a lot of kids too.
Uh-huh.
They had like 5 or 7 kids.
Yeah, I want to say it was like ooh, 7.
There was the oldest son. There
Oh,
was
wait. Only 9? Was it 9? No. I think it was 7 kids, the mom and the dad, right? So it
yeah,
was
yeah.
9. Yes.
Okay. So with this one, it was very interesting because what was their names again?
Uh,
DeFeos.
DeFeos.
The DeFeos, um, I'm not sure how long they were living there, how this all started, but the oldest son said basically that and he was living in the basement at the time, and um he had said he was getting visitations by a dark shadow, and that it had presented him a gun and told him that he needed to shoot everybody in the house. Um, there could have been drugs involved. There could have been who knows. Like but I know in the house, I think there was a well under in the house as well. Like in the basement, there was a well. There was also a weird red room, like a really like almost like a closet red room in there.
Hmm.
And I found that odd as well. Um and I think that's where they said like that's where the entity had lived or that's where he resided at. But he would come out, or the entity basically gave him this weapon and told him to go upstairs and shoot. And it was exactly at 3:15 every or at that night when he finally went up to the upstairs and started with the parents. He shot his mom first and then his dad, and then he shot the twins. No, they weren't twins. They were 9 and 6, 9 and 7, something like that. And then the twins, and then shot t- two girls,
Yeah, because on the
younger girls, and then there was one older girl that
there was
was
4
19.
siblings.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because it's on their NES. PR, there it is, website that
Mhm.
it was parents and four siblings.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Because I was like, wait, that doesn't. I'm trying to like do math in my head
Yeah.
as I'm talking, and I forgot to count him, the shooter, as part of the family, is what I did.
Understandable.
Hmm. So he um went, and there's some of the things that are really weird about this case because, like, how come nobody got out of bed?
That's my big question. I'm glad you brought that up because I was going to bring it up. How the hell do you hear that your parents got shot or somebody gets shot and you
In
didn't
your house,
in
it
your
doesn't even matter.
house
It just in your
in
house
the 70s?
with
It's
a
not like there
shotgun.
was like cement wall. I don't even know. I feel
There
like even
wasn't
then you'll hear it. Like
there
you're in a
wasn't a
house.
silencer on the gun at all either.
No way.
And actually the older sister at some point came down and asked her brother, like, what's going on? And he was like, no, everything's fine, go back to bed. And she goes back to bed, and then he shoots her. Like, I just,
Also, wasn't it a rifle?
yeah,
I mean, a gun's a gun, it's loud, but like, aren't rifles loud as
they're
hell?
loud. Yeah, they're loud. And that was the other thing, is nobody so we're talking at night at 3, in the morning, and nobody heard a gunshot. Nobody heard, like, no neighbors, and they're in a subdivision. It wasn't like they were in a farmhouse somewhere where they had no neighbors. They were literally in a subdivision. And the fact that he pulled this off just is. And then the thing was, it wasn't like the cops came right away. He like went to work the next day, or no, yeah, he went to work the next day and then came home and then ran to a bar that he had went to, that he goes to, and he knew the people there. And he was like, somebody shot my family, my parents. And then he like ran back to the house, and he was trying to, first the story was that he literally did not he wasn't home at all, that he didn't know this has happened. He just came home, and his whole family was dead. That was the story that he was trying to really like give the cops and everything like that. And then soon after that, they basically did arrest him for murdering his family. And they also found the murder weapon because it was across town, and he put it in a sewer or something like that. Like, he threw it in there and left it there. Like, either there's parts of the case that I don't know, which is definitely probably true, but also like it just doesn't really add up either.
Yeah. Which I'm in the same boat as you are right now. So I'm like,
Hmm.
there's probably things I don't know. There is things I don't know is what I should say, but also like you're telling me that a single fucking person heard that shit and thought, that was a gunshot. I should probably like maybe just get the fuck out of here.
Yeah. Or even the neighbor, like I would hope, well, I don't know. The experiment would be I'd have to have somebody shoot a gun
In their house
in their house,
next to you.
and to see if I could hear it.
Yeah. From in your house.
Right.
Yeah.
And we'd have to see if it was like summer or winter when they died. Because if it was summer and they had the doors open or the windows open while they were sleeping, then that would be
It was in November of 1974 when he did that.
all right. So it's probably cold, so they probably didn't have any windows open either. So that would be, and the neighbors didn't have theirs open. But yeah, it would be interesting to see how much you could hear being that close to a gunshot through their walls, through my walls, right? Like,
Yeah, absolutely.
so I don't know. But
We have
so
questions.
we have questions. So then I think it was a year later, that the Lutz family had moved in, and they loved this house. They fell in love with it. It was exactly what they were looking for. I think this was his first family and her second family. So she had kids prior to them getting married. Um, Not that that mattered, but so they got in there, and I do believe that things were happening immediately, even to the fact that like stuff was like, I don't know if it was actually blood, but I think it was ectoplasm coming from the walls.
They, one of the websites I read said slime seeping out of the wells.
Uh-huh. Flies. I know that they got the house, they wanted to get the house blessed because then they heard that there was a murder in the house. So they called a priest, and then he went through it. And the funny thing is that, so he was going through it, blessing the house, and he went into the sewing room, and the sewing room had like a really bad feeling in it. So he started blessing it, but then he either got shoved or something happened to him in that room. And then even after that, he ended up with like blisters on his hands
Mm,
from the cleansing. So then after that, because I don't think he actually finished the house cleansing after that. I think he
no.
left shortly after that.
Yeah, because he was like, this isn't working.
Right? Because I think he either had heart pain or chest pains, or he got choked. He got physically assaulted
Hmm.
from this, and he left shortly after that. And but never like came back, and didn't tell the family what he experienced either. Um because I know after that they had tried to call him back at some point, and he was like, No,
No,
I'm not coming to help you."
he said that's above my pay grade, and
He
I don't
said,
want to be there.
although the funny thing, it's not above his pay grade, because if you are a man of the Lord, like I feel like that is your pay grade,
He
sir.
said it's above it. He said,
Also,
I'm gonna ride right here."
right, right. He's like, mm-mm,
Mm-mm.
mm-mm. I did not sign up for that. So after that is when things really start, because you got to figure this was 28 days. So this like was
28
quick.
days of terror.
It was quick. It amped it up. It, started taking over the father. I think they wanted to repeat it because it kept waking him up every night at 3:15. Every night at 3:15. One of the daughters started talking to an imaginary friend, which was a pig with red eyes.
Yeah. I read that George said he witnessed that his wife was transforming into like a 90-year-old woman and levitating above the bed one night.
Yeah, yeah.
They would have like knives flying off the counter and
Hmm.
banging all over the house. Like it got so loud, it was like marching band just emanating through the house.
Yeah. They had a boat like shed, and that would just come open, and he would have to go out there and fix it, or stuff was being broken. Uh
I can't believe they lasted 28 days.
I really can't either. But they love the house, then I think that's the
Oh,
thing
that
is.
house.
Yeah, but you know how it is.
I do. I do. I get it.
Like we say that really easily, but like when you're strapped up into a mortgage
Yep, I know.
and you're held by your credit score, and this will put you in financial ruin, like you really kind of are stuck at that point, because you're like, well, if I do this, I'm screwed. This
Yeah.
is where hauntings really like fuck with your head too. Because I think outside we would be like, dude, we're leaving. But like in it, when you're in that influence, Like you're so fearful that every move you make is fearful. Like it's such a weird place to be that you can't use your discernment very easily.
Ugh. That would suck.
That would suck.
Do you know, I also read that for the skeptics out there, that there were so many skeptics that the couple decided to do a lie detector test and passed it with flying colors.
Yeah. They've done their due diligence about trying to prove the fact, but there's always going to be people that either A, don't want to believe in it, so they just automatically disprove what you're saying is not being truthful.
Yeah.
You
And
know,
there's
they don't,
that
they,
fear we were talking about too, right?
yeah, they just can't,
Like,
they don't have space for it. They don't have, like, to them, if that was real, then their whole world would fall apart.
oh fuck yeah, dude. Me pre-doing all the shit that we do and like all the shit I feel like I know now. If I would have had a kid and she would have told me she was talking to some red-eyed pig, I would have been freaked the hell out. Like, what do you mean? What do you mean? What do you, you're you're seeing a pig with red eyes and you're talking to it? That's dope. We gotta go.
Right? That is the devil. He has showed up.
Yep. I would have been freaked out. Knives, all that
Mhm.
stuff, I would have been
Mhm.
freaked the hell out. Cause like I was at a point in life one time where I was shutting all that down. There's no, we're not doing it.
Right, right.
It's not happening. It's the cats.
It's the cats. We have no cats. One got in.
One got in. I don't know how it did. It's a cat. It's could not ever be that because that is so scary. That would have been me.
It is really scary. Okay, so then the next one.
Well, really quick with Amityville
Okay.
though, they vacated after 28 days. Then Ed and Lorraine came in.
Oh, that's right. Sorry.
No, that's
That's right. That's
okay.
right.
Because I think that's so important because they
It
didn't,
is.
Ed and Lorraine weren't there actively with, like, that's obviously in the movie, it's different because, it's got to make cinematic sense, dude. You can't, again, this would have not been as satisfying of a movie, I guess you could say, for better lack of terms. But when Ed and Lorraine went, according to them, Ed got pushed to the floor. Lorraine felt like an overwhelming, like, demonic presence there. They had a research team with us. They captured a picture of a spirit in the form of a little boy in the stairway. And like I don't know if they like tried to cleanse it or anything, or if they were just like,
Well,
dude, that house is haunted.
I think I think they did bring in a priest again. I think they exorcised it actually.
Did they?
Yeah, I think so they came in, they did a séance, um, and they had two of their psychics there along with Lorraine,
Mm,
and both of them had experienced paranormal activity while they were doing the séance. And then there was a guy that was going upstairs. I think he was a camera guy, and he actually had his pain in his chest so much so that it brought him to the ground. So there was a lot of stuff that was just happening just with them.
yeah.
But I do believe that they got permission from the Catholic Church to get this house exorcised.
Yes.
And nothing has
Interesting.
really happened since then that I know of.
Same. Bring on the next case.
The next case in 1977, this is the Enfield poltergeist.
Also good.
So this is the Warrens investigated the claim of family. This is the one in North London. So this is Conjuring 2, if you haven't um, if you're keeping score. Um, this was a very interesting case, I felt like, because I didn't know that demonic spirits could use spirits to do their bidding for them.
Yeah, that threw me for a loop because I did not know the case or anything about it. I just watched the movie just purely for the movie, and I was like, what the fuck?
Hmm.
Is that a thing? Like, holy shit.
Yeah, like, okay, now we just leveled up, or they leveled up. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Um, While a number of independent observers dismissed the this was actually a well-documented case too because they had a lot of interviews and stuff.
They also had police reports too, because like when
Yeah,
everything was first happening, they were calling police out, and then police officers were saying they witnessed like activity, chairs rising or moving on their own, and like
yeah.
it's, I mean, to have those reports too, I feel like is like credibility.
Well, yeah, especially as somebody that we know, I guess we've given authority to, like the police or fire. Like, they've seen a lot of stuff, so you know they're not gonna be like, and nobody really wants to go on record to say, like, yeah, I saw a ghost.
Right.
Not anybody that works for the government, at least. Unless it's the men in black.
Yeah. Agent K, Agent N, ready to report. Selenite gun.
Yes, we're doing it. We're going to be the women in black.
Reporting for duty.
Selenite guns, here we come.
Yeah. Yes.
So this one, they really did think that this was a hoax and it was just a attention getting children. Like it was just children that needed the attention because of whatever, you know, but this was a demonic possession case. Like she made her own like Ouija board and she opened that door. I don't know exactly how. Oh, maybe because the old man was already there. And then I think when they got I don't know. This is so I'm wondering, my theory is at this point is that the old man was already there and he was already a lower vibration and the children are bright, so it's very easy to want to get the energy off of them. And then because she opened up the door he was allowed in, but I think when they called Ed and Lorraine into it, or they knew that's what they were going to do, and that demonic force involved itself after that
Yeah,
and
because
was controlling the old guy.
with all the poltergeist activity they had, what really got investigators interested too was their fireplace ripped itself out of the wall.
Really?
Uh-huh. And that's there was a because BBC covered it. Even BBC picked up this. They had covered the Enfield
Yeah.
poltergeist because this was
Yeah.
happening and they were like, what the fuck? And then it started getting the attention of these people, which got the attention of the Warrens too.
Mm-hmm.
Because like,
Mm-hmm.
how the hell are you gonna get a fireplace ripped out of the wall and just moved? I mean, that's a big thing to just take on yourself to make this seem more real. You
Mm-hmm.
know, they already had investigators there doing it because they were getting so many calls to the police like crazy.
Yeah. It's very this one is a very interesting case. Because we also see how spirits can morph themselves into other things,
Hmm.
where they can become shapeshifters and play on uh play different roles on the astric realm and bleed over into our worlds.
Yeah, absolutely.
Uh, the couple that showed up, oh, they were uninvited and was consequently refused to admit into their home.
The Warrens were?
Yeah,
Yeah, because didn't the activity just mysteriously stop happening too? Like they have no idea how, and the family said they didn't do anything to stop it. It just stopped.
it just stopped.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it doesn't say anything here. Like it says, the story was inspiration for Conjuring 2, although critics say the Warrens were involved to a far less degree than portrayed in the movie.
Yeah.
In fact, the couple had showed up to the scene uninvited and they were consequently refused to admit into the home.
Yeah, because it was getting so much coverage because of all the calls and the investigators that were already there. The Warrens went on their own accord and they had said, Ed was quoted saying that those dealing with the supernatural day in and day out know the phenomenon are there. There's no doubt about it. And they were saying that they were convinced it was a real poltergeist case based off of everything that they had been hearing. Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, I don't think they did much with it. They weren't able to actually investigate.
Yeah. And poltergeists more and more are starting to believe that the reason why we have poltergeist activity is really because of teenage girls.
Hmm.
They end up starting to, because as we know, it is hard,
Really fucking hard.
right? Especially when you go from kid to young adult. Like when you're a kid, as a girl, you are almost perfect, for the most part. I know everybody has different experiences, but like you're almost like this, you're supposed to be this white, angelic personification of purity.
Yeah.
And when you go through puberty and you grow up a little bit and you start becoming a woman, and it's really because you are becoming, I don't know, what's the word I want? Into your sexuality. And to go from being so pure and holy to unclean, it's really hard. And I think, and you're supposed to do things and you're supposed to act a certain way. And as women, we all know that we do a lot of like we don't say what we mean or say what we want to.
Hmm.
We like there's an epidemic of like thyroid problems in women across everything. And
Yeah.
I believe that this is because we don't use our words, we don't say what we mean, we don't um because we're supposed to be, even to this day, we're supposed to be portrayed in a very certain type of way.
Seen but not heard.
Right. Um I don't know where I was going with that. So that's all I got to say about that.
You're just saying that you believe poltergeists are there
Oh,
is a
right.
belief about poltergeists coming
That's
from
right.
young girls.
And I'm sure we'll get more information as investigations and research go on. We'll get more of the
Juicy details.
yes, yes, we will finally find it out. Okay, so in 1981, now we have The Devil Made Me Do It. Um, Arnie Johnson was accused of killing his landlord, Alan Bono. Ed and Lorraine, and Lorraine were already in this case because uh, his fiance's younger brother was possessed by demonic influences. And at some point during this case, when they were performing an exorcism, Arnie basically told the demon to leave the boy alone and either come into him or something like that, like leave him alone, take me on, something, aggressive like that. And, the funny thing is, I think Lorraine had said that when you mess with uh these energies, that they don't come it doesn't happen like this. It more waits for your weakest moment. So like when you're drinking, when you're under the influence of certain types of alcohol and uh drugs, like that would be a weak moment. Having some sort of physical ailment would be weak moment. Like these places where we get like low depression, like those places could be very much where an entity can wait. And they don't have a body or expiration date, so they can just lie in wait.
Mm-hmm.
They might wait until you're 90 and then knock you off a stool or something. I don't know, but they can wait, is what I'm saying. Um, so when this went on trial, they really wanted to if if Ed could get a case, win a case through the court, to him that was his holy grail. Like that was the main thing he wanted, was just somebody with authority to say yes, ghosts are real, demons are real, that kind of thing. And that was one of the things that he really wanted to push, was to get uh not notoriety, because that sounds superficial. It was more of like, I guess, recognition of it actually happening.
Mm-hmm.
But I like this movie. This was a really good movie, I thought.
I thought it was a good movie too. I really
Mhm.
liked it. I will say I didn't feel like it was as creepy as some of the first ones.
No, this was more of an action-packed one
Yeah, there
than
you go.
like a scare one, like a mystery. It was like they were going in and they were trying to figure out why this was happening to him, why the family was being attacked, why it jumped to there was because this was one of the cases where witchcraft was involved, or the occult was involved.
Right.
Do you have anything more to add to that one?
No, no, I think that was it. I mean, honestly, when it comes to like the real life case, it just wasn't as detailed as the movie is. Do you know what I
Right,
mean?
right.
Other than they thought he was possessed, and the only thing that the movie I did read that the movie didn't portray Arnie and I think his name was Bono, the kennel owner dude. They did have like a really long standing friendship before. And I feel like that wasn't also agree that that wasn't portrayed well in the movie, but granted, it's
No,
cinematic purposes.
right. They don't have time to build a relationship.
That's boring. Take me what I'm here for.
Yeah, that's how
Give
it
me the horror,
usually
baby.
is, right? That's how it usually is. All right. So the next one I have is the Snenderker House.
I don't know.
It's Sneddeker.
I have no idea what this is.
Oh, this is the one. It was the haunting in Connecticut. So this one, did you find it?
Mm-hmm.
What's it? How do you say the name?
Snedeckers,
Snen
maybe? Snedeckers?
Snectors? Sorry for mangling words, but
Yeah.
Heathens. You made choices. So this one is they did this movie. I didn't actually know that Ed and Lorraine even knew about this, or was part of this case because the movie did not state that. This was, um, it was called A Haunting in Connecticut, and it's been out since 2002, maybe 2009 was released. The film, it was 2009. But it was produced on the Discovery Channel in 2002, but came out as a movie in 2009. Okay.
Mm.
So, the story goes that the woman, does it have her name in here? I just,
Carmen?
was it Carmen? Okay. So, Carmen and one, I think her oldest son was, he had cancer, like
Philip.
kid cancer. Yeah,
Yep.
Philip had cancer. And one of the best places for them to go was like an hour away from their actual home. It was a long drive. And this long drive, they had to go there, get cancer treatment, drive back, all this stuff, um, so much. So she thought it would be easier if they found a home closer to their treatments. And that way they wouldn't have all this driving and it wouldn't, less wear and tear on Philip because it's a lot to like get these treatments and have to drive and have to like it's just a lot on the whole family and when they're already going through so much. So
Yeah.
she was driving around and she found this house and she was like, "Oh my God, it's so beautiful. Like it's perfect." And she didn't know that and it was for the right price and she had 4 kids and like it was just just something for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Um so she rented it and she didn't know that it was a formal uh funeral parlor that was in it. In fact, the house still had some of the mortuary stuff in it.
Yeah, like the embalming equipment.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And they started I think the basement started getting experiments first. Like the son that was under attack, Philip, the one with that was receiving treatment, was the first one to start see stuff. And I really think it she thought it was just because of his treatment and he was having hallucinations. So they never put much stock in it. And they really tried. So, of course, it starts to amp up. And I'm pretty sure it was trying to get Philip to do things.
Well, and I also just read that Philip and Bradley claimed the basement for their own bedrooms
Yeah.
because they were like the spacious ones. So they're also down there in that energy.
Hmm.
Ugh.
They wanted to be down there. They was bigger. They wanted it like. This also has a very feel of like the Amity horror, like the dad was affected and like started drinking again and like, because he was trying to keep up their old house and have bills and, like the stress of medical bills and house bills and
Mhm.
all that stuff. Uh, um, I'm not sure how much of the movie is based on fact because I know Ed had said that he thought that there was some necrophilia that was happening there in the funeral home.
Yeah.
And I know the movie, which I know likes to glorify or, illusionary the story, make it bigger and brighter. In the movie, they actually had like bodies in the house walls. And I don't know if that's true or not.
I just read, where did that go? Yeah, because they were saying that in addition to the mortuary equipment, the family also found images of the deceased on the property. And according to another interview, Carmen, the mom said that there were a couple photos in the home, but there were many like toe tags and head tags in the home too. And there were other personal items of the deceased as well.
Yeah, in the movie they were building a story of like that he was doing witchcraft and he was stealing their eyelids and he was also using one of the boys for psychic mediumship and he was basically trying to amp up the psychic mediumship.
Mm-hmm.
So um So a lot of stuff was left behind and a lot of bodies were in there. That because I feel like you could probably go into a mortuary home and not necessarily like be like, oh my God, this is haunted,
Right. I
you
agree
know.
with that.
But I think when you have that much stuff left behind, especially personal stuff, and on top of that, you have tragedy or
Mm-hmm.
crimes that were committed on the deceased. That's where we really start to get into like, and that's why it's haunted.
Yeah.
But
And
that's a pretty good movie. You should. It's an older one, but it's pretty good. And then the Smurl family in Pennsylvania. I do believe that this is a well documented case of poltergeist activity as well. Um, because before the Warrens actually even got involved, this was like we're talking media and like um police, and they actually witnessed activity. Firemen, and they witnessed activity. I think they even had the gas and electric guys come out, and they also witnessed activity. There were priests involved. There was actually, I think it was one of their psychic mediums that called them in on this case. Uh, I forgot what her name was, but she called them in and basically said this is all. It was right down the road or something from them, because I think even the daughter was um, like she knew about it. She walked over. She talked to a policeman because they had it all blocked off and stuff. And this is a really incredible case because we're talking like refrigerators were moving. We're talking
Mm,
like the cops would come in and the whole house would be like somebody had ransacked it.
crazy.
Things were broken, things were falling off the shelves, people were being levitated, they were thrown out of chairs. Like there was so much happening in this one
Mm,
that and I do believe that this one did get an exorcism and nothing has happened since then.
wow.
But the funny thing is, this hasn't been made into a movie or anything, which is weird. Television film by the same name, The Haunted. There was a made for TV television haunted house film directed by Robert Mandel, and it's called The Haunted, and it's a 1991 film. So there is a film out there, but it's not like Hollywood.
Oh, eat.
But I do believe that this got a lot of news attention and stuff like that. So it would be interesting even to see what they did, uh, how those actually come up and stuff.
Yeah. See if it does turn into something.
Hmm. I don't know. And then the next one is a cemetery, which I don't know anything about that one. It was just a Union Cemetery. Ed Warren's book Graveyard, True Hauntings from an Old England Cemetery,
Hmm,
features a white lady ghost which haunts that particular cemetery.
hmm. Probably be a good read.
Yeah, I think that would be pretty good. I don't know. All in all, it opened, and Lorraine Warren had paid, and you can like them and you can not like them, and you can say that they were hoax and they were doing it for wrong reasons and everything like that. Or, you take it for just what it is, experiences. And it really opens up, it had opened up their way for not only people to open up and talk about stuff that happens in their house, but they can receive help too.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the more people we get into it, the more refined the field becomes.
Absolutely. I agree with that. It's like the more information we can surmise, the better we can come to some kind of idea of a conclusion.
Well, because if you like it or not, like this is the science experiment. Like we can't obviously at this point we can't necessarily capture it in a jar and study it back at the lab. The lab is the house. The lab is and the more research and documentary stuff that we get, the more we can come to a deeper understanding of the paranormal and the activities of the unseen.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
Mhm.
It was fun getting to know the Warrens better and like getting to know more of their story. I didn't know a lot of this yet again. You think you know some stuff, and then you find out you know nothing, Jon Snow.
You know nothing, Jon Snow. Yeah, it's night. Don't You're not allowed to have any ice. Go ahead.
Mhm. I
I'm
can't hear
just
anything anyways.
Oh, okay, good. It's interesting to like go down these fields and like really have a deeper understanding of it and what they went through and just the life. Again, like I said, the fact that he was a painter just seems so funny to me.
Yeah, I
Like
agree.
peculiar. Like really painting?
That's what did this.
I mean, I love it, but I don't it's just peculiar.
I would agree with that.
Hmm.
I would agree.
But what a fabulous life, I think. I mean, I'm sure they had their ups and downs, but they always seem very kind.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I would agree with that. I want them to stay. I love their movie portrayals. They're the way
Hmm.
that directors have portrayed them and the actor and
Yeah.
actresses that have portrayed them. I love them.
I agree. I agree. I think they did a great job at casting who they've casted, and it really brought to life these stories,
Yeah.
and I appreciate it. I do appreciate it.
And that's a fun movie series to watch. The Conjuring movies, the Nuns a part of that series, that world.
Mhm. Mhm.
They're just good. They're good movies to watch. They're
Yeah, then
scary.
I think they're coming out with a Nun 3 too.
Yay! I love the Nun.
I just hope they don't ruin it.
They better not.
I'm just like I'm okay with sequels and we have gotten better with sequels than it has in the past. But I just sometimes I just hope they know what they're doing and they're not just doing it for money, but they're actually got a story that's good.
Here, here.
That's all I
Here,
wish for.
here. Well, okay, friends. Our next um episode is going to be about moon phases and hangovers from those phases. Then after that, we'll be going into our next section of the planets in astrology. And we'll be starting
Ooh.
after that, we'll do the sun and the moon. So we'll do the moon even more justice. But our next episode is going to be about moon phases, new moon, full moon,
What to do,
all the phases.
yeah, if you wanted to honor them, what to do, where to go, how do you feel, all that stuff.
Yes. Yes, yes, yes. So we'll see you in the next episode on the moon phases. See you later,
Mhm.
peeps.
Bye.